This is an unofficial and unauthorized translation of a Figu publication. 210th Contact. Wednesday, June 11, 1986, 10:17 a.m. Quetzal says, "Today, I can answer your question about the evangelist Luke, as I have thoroughly informed myself about this using a reference of science. Luke was actually born in the country of Syria, according to today's calendar on Tuesday, September 4th, AD 64. He passed away in the year AD 148, on Sunday, May 27th. His place of death was Greece. Nearly 200 years after his passing away, his corpse was transported to the former Byzantium, where it remained until the end of the 11th century, after which, through another shift to Italy, it then received its final resting place in the crypt in the Basilica of Santa Giustina in Padua." Billy says, "Thank you for your efforts. Luke was the author of the Gospel which bears the same name, as well as of the Acts of the Apostles, which, to my knowledge, he wrote during the period from AD 97 to 106, namely only according to hearsay and in accordance with his own interpretations, which naturally led to falsifications, etc." Quetzal says, "Your words correspond to what our scientists and all historians also explain." Billy says, "Of course. Sfath already spoke in this manner. May I ask you a question about my great journey again, respectively about Mars, which I was also allowed to visit?" Quetzal says, "Of course you can do that." Billy says, "While visiting Mars, Papa explained to me that Mars had larger amounts of water let into its rivers, which are now partially filled in by dust and volcanic ash, than what was ever the case or what is still the case with the largest rivers on Earth. In addition, he talked about thousandfold more water than what is found in the largest rivers on Earth. That seems to be somewhat fantastic to me, which is why I think that I misheard or didn't listen properly." Quetzal says, "You shouldn't doubt your attention because you properly understood everything that Papa explained to you. The information about the enormous quantities of water, which were let into the Martian rivers, corresponds to the facts, as well as the watercourses that are partially filled in by sand, dust, and volcanic ash, which are generally called canals on Earth, but which were truly enormous rivers that were dozens and even almost 100 kilometers in diameter and that were thousands of kilometers in length." Billy says, "On Mars, there are always violently raging sandstorms which, as Papa explained, often cover the entire planet. There, it's no wonder that enormous rivers of water, or even the canals, were partially covered with sand, dust, and volcanic ash. I was also allowed to witness a violent storm, which was actually a tremendous experience for me, even though I could only observe the whole thing in Semyosis beam ship and couldn't go directly into the storm. Although it wasn't such a huge experience as in the storms of the red eye on Jupiter. But just regarding this prevented some, I have another question. You told me that the ring or the very thin ring system around Jupiter disappears, therefore, it can no longer be ascertained. There, I ask myself what you actually meant with that, namely whether you address the outer or the inner ring." Quetzal says, "I spoke of the outer and extremely fine ring. The inner ring, which is denser, in contrast to the outer one, is narrow and practically extends down to Jupiter's atmosphere in a fine and visible vapor. This ring remains and will also be ascertained in the coming time through the efforts of earthly astronomers and astrophysicists." Billy says, "Then those who are super clever will still have to vindicate me, whom they insulted as a liar and spinner in 1975 after my great journey, when I explained that I had seen a similar ring on Jupiter as the one on Saturn." Quetzal says, "For this vindication, However, you will still have to wait an even longer time. Billy says, also, regarding the Ishwishmate, the God's Eye, respectively the Ring Nebula, which was created by a crazy and wacky Ishwish king of wisdom, one has insulted me and has even claimed that I stole a photo from the Swiss Astronomical Society and that I maintain that it comes from me. One does not want to take from me that I made the picture in space, when one cruised about with me in that star area. There are also similar structures, namely about 500, in our Milky Way. Also in the constellation Aquarius, such a thing exists, the so-called planetary nebula NGC 7293, which is called the Helix Nebula. Moreover, I am accused of lying and spinning because I said that Neptune also exhibits a ring system and that Jupiter also has a great spot that is similar to the red spot. But there are many more things, for which I am attacked and insulted, including that which I reported after my great journey, which is that Uranus also has a ring system, and to be sure, a rather remarkable one. Another point of attack is my statement that the clouds of Venus, as a rule, are considerably higher than the clouds of Earth and that there are volcanoes on Venus that are several hundred kilometers in diameter, which also means that, accordingly, also lava flows that are several hundred kilometers long are to be found, but these are idle. Quetzal says, unfortunately, the Earth people are very much inclined to insult and slander new things, especially when they are not able to understand something and are not able to perceive it. Billy says, then to something else, Patha made a remark to me that there are not only black holes in space, which pull all matter and all light, etc., into themselves, but that there is also the opposite, that which pushes and hurls away everything that comes within its range by tremendous force. Can you tell me what you call this phenomenon and whether it appears frequently or only sporadically in the vast regions of space? Quetzal says, with what Patha explained to you and with what you have addressed, it is all correct. It concerns a closed space curvature, which is similar to a sphere, and it develops tremendous repulsive forces in itself, which act outwardly from the curvature and which reject and repel everything that lies within its range by unimaginable force. The repulsive force vibrations reach out very far into free space, often over billions of kilometers away, although their strength becomes lower. This means that the repulsive force of the space curvature becomes correspondingly stronger. The ratio can be estimated with a black hole because the same laws apply to such, but only in reverse form. Billy says, so you call the whole thing space curvature? Quetzal says, that is correct. But now, my friend, it is time that we finish our conversation because you should not be overburdened, for your health is still not the best. Therefore, live well and in peace. I will visit you again at the given time. Until we meet again. Billy says, until we meet again, and many thanks for your answers and efforts. Bye. The end.